The first Mardi Gras, of course, was in 1978 as the 10th anniversary celebrations of the Stonewall riots in New York, and our International Day of Gay Solidarity, as it was known then, was Australia's contribution to those international celebrations.
Well, I was in a red Indian costume with war paint and feathers, and there weren't very many people in costume at that stage because it's still the accent was more on the political rather than on the fun side, and suddenly we found ourselves in a riot. People were all furious what the police had done to the parade, and this response to their violence, violence begets violence.
It was an amazing night. It was a real change in the attitude of gay people, because most of the people who took part in that first Mardi Gras had never been on the street, never been open about their sexuality before. And I think indicative of the night was one young man who ran past me, and as he ran past, he jumped in the air and said, "I'll never hide again."
It was dykes who were at the forefront of the riot, and they were the ones who took the risks initially. The Queens were throwing their hands up in the air saying, "This is a nightmare." I know I was terrified of police.
And the people that were very violent in 1978 are still in the police force. And while the police are very restrained at Mardi Gras and very good-humoured and very cooperative to the community, every year at the Fred Nile rallies, which is in October, they react in a very violent way. There are a lot of violent clashes, there are a lot of violent arrests. And what that shows to me is that when the police are forced to deal with this in very large numbers that are too great for them to react to us in a confrontationalist way, they're forced to have to make some compromise with us, but when they don't have to, they won't.
In the first few years, when we used to have to go and negotiate with them in terms of parade routes, times, closing traffic, that kind of stuff, it was lawyers. 60 paces, basically. We would have lawyers, they would have lawyers, and there would be blue uniforms on one side of the room and queers on the other side of the room with the lawyers in between.
Because of the police, it's grown to what it is today. Perhaps without that riot, we wouldn't have had Mardi Gras.
Homosexuality in New South Wales was decriminalised in 1985, which started to change some police attitudes slowly. And we got a very good patrol commander in Surrey Hills called Kerry Beggs, and he brought a very different attitude to working with us.
We run bi-monthly training days here at Surrey Hills, and we target identifiable issues that we have to address for the younger police. I've introduced workshops with a lot of gay people to talk on gay issues, on police acceptance and police behaviour. Very important facet of work at Surrey Hills. There's quite a number of meetings in which we have to finalise a lot of activities. When you've got something like 300,000 people on street in a night, and I've got something like 100 officers to control that, it's one where I've got to control by consensus. In other words, the people who are there are accepting of the policing and the reasons why the policing has to be that way, for crowd control and for direction and control of traffic.
The first meeting I had with Kerry Beggs and the police, Kerry ignored me completely, didn't look at me at all. So I sat there and thought, oh, this is a good start. And then we started talking and we got through things, and I would go in to see him by myself and he would say things like, "Now you've got the lesbians on board at Mardi Gras, it's just great, it's really fantastic, things are working really well." He was a funny old sausage.